One day, you were the center of their universe. The next day, you're invisible. You haven't moved, but it feels like you've been deleted. You walk into the room and they don't look up. You send a text and the bubbles never appear. You ask a simple question, and you get a one-word answer that feels like a slap in the face. This isn't because they are busy or stressed at work. This is the silent treatment, and it is the loudest thing in the house. You start to panic. You go back through your day like a detective, looking for the crime you committed. Did you say something wrong? Did you forget to do something? You try to talk to them, to fix it, to apologize for things you didn't even do. But the more you talk, the quieter they get. They are using silence to drain the air out of the room until you are gasping for a single hello. They tell you they just need space or they don't want to talk about it. But look at their face. That isn't the face of someone who is hurt, it's the face of someone who is watching you struggle. They are waiting for you to break. They want to see you pacing the floor, checking your phone every 10 seconds, and eventually, they want to see you beg. This isn't about them needing time to think. If they needed time, they would say, "I'm upset, let's talk in an hour." Instead, they just vanish while standing right in front of you. It's a cage. They put you in it to remind you who has the power. They want you to know that your peace of mind depends entirely on their permission. When the silence starts, the clock starts ticking. At first, you're just confused. You ask if they're okay. You ask if you did something. But when the hours turn into days, the confusion turns into a frantic kind of energy. You start replaying every conversation from the last week in your head. You look for a mistake, a wrong word, or a look you gave them that they didn't like. You become a detective in your own life, trying to solve a crime that never happened. Then comes the fix-it phase. This is exactly what they are waiting for. You start sending long texts explaining your feelings. You tell them you love them. You tell them you're sorry, even though you don't know what for. You might even buy them a gift or do extra chores around the house, hoping that if you are perfect enough, the ice will melt. You are auditioning for their affection, and they are sitting in the judge's chair, completely silent. The worst part is the checking. You check your phone every 30 seconds. You see they are online or they just posted a photo, but they haven't replied to you. That is a choice. They aren't away from their phone. They are holding it in their hand, seeing your name pop up, and choosing to let you twist in the wind. They want you to feel small. They want you to feel like your entire happiness depends on them hitting send. By the time they finally do speak to you, you are so relieved that you don't even care why they were mad. You don't ask for an apology. You don't tell them it hurt you. You just say, "Thank you," for the crumb of attention they finally threw your way. You have been trained. They have taught you that if you step out of line, they will take the air out of the room until you learn to behave. This isn't a person who is bad at communicating. This is a person who is using your own empathy against you. They know you can't stand the silence, so they use it as a whip. They are training you to be afraid of their quiet. They want you to walk on eggshells every single day so you never dare to upset them again. You aren't in a conversation, you are in a cage, and they have the only key. Take a second. Look at the person in the mirror. Not the version put on social media or the one that pretends everything is fine at work. Look at the person clutching a phone like it's a lifeline. Is that person even recognizable anymore? Because the version of you that used to have opinions, the one who laughed without checking the temperature of the room first, the one who actually had a spine, is gone. Everything has been traded for a maybe. This is a state of permanent standby, waiting for a signal that someone else decides to send. Think about the hours. Add them up. The hours spent staring at a blank screen. The hours spent rehearsing apologies for crimes that weren't committed. The hours spent crying quietly so the silence doesn't get extended out of spite. That is time that never comes back. Life is being burned away as fuel for someone else's ego. And let's talk about dignity. Remember when there were standards. Remember the promise to never be that person who begs. Look at the sent folder. Look at those long, rambling paragraphs, spilling your soul, explaining childhood trauma, pleading to just be seen. And what happened? They read it. They saw the notification. And they put the phone face down. They let the emotional bleed out happen while they watched a movie or went to sleep. The roadmap to that pain was handed over, and permission was given for them to walk all over it. Friendships are thinning out, too. The truth stays hidden because the look on a friend's face is too much to handle. It's easier to lie, to cover for the predator, and to make excuses for the silence than to admit what's happening. This is isolation into a tiny, cold world where the only conversation is with someone who isn't talking back. Health is paying the bill, too. Sleep is gone. The stomach is in a permanent knot. There's that low-level hum of anxiety vibrating in the chest 24/7. That's the body signaling an attack, but the signals are ignored to keep a peace that doesn't exist. There's just the absence of noise. The hollow-out is real. It's becoming a ghost haunting a private life, all out of a terrifying fear that if the begging stops, they'll leave for real. But look at the inventory, look at the wreckage, they've already left. They left the moment they decided this pain was a price worth paying for their control. This isn't a relationship, it's a prisoner guarding their own cell. You are sitting in the dark, protecting a flame that they blew out weeks ago. You aren't saving anything. You are just disappearing. Every day you stay in this silence, you lose a little more of the ground you stand on. Eventually, there won't be anything left of you to save. Right now, the excuses are already starting. The brain is frantically digging for a reason to make this okay. But they had a hard childhood. But they're just overwhelmed at work. But when things are good, they're amazing. Stop. Let's kill the buts. A hard childhood isn't a license to torture someone you claim to love. Being stressed at work doesn't turn a healthy person into a statue that ignores your existence for 3 days. And as for those amazing times, those weren't the real relationship, those were the bait. You don't judge a trap by the quality of the cheese, you judge it by the steel of the spring. The silence is the spring. Maybe the thought is, if I just explain it better, they'll understand how much this hurts. No. They already know. That's the part that is being avoided. They aren't confused about the fact that you're hurting, they are counting on it. If they didn't know it hurt, it wouldn't be an effective tool for control. You cannot explain empathy to someone who is using its absence as a weapon. They aren't missing a piece of the puzzle, they are playing a completely different game. But they said they just need space. Fine. People need space. But space has a boundary and a timeline. Space looks like, I'm overwhelmed, I need a few hours to myself and then we'll talk. Space does not look like, I am going to delete your existence until I feel like acknowledging you again. That isn't space. That's an eviction. It's a temporary termination of your right to exist in their world. Maybe if I just change, they'll stop. Change what? You've already changed everything. You've shrunk yourself down until you're almost invisible. You've stopped bringing up your needs. You've stopped asking for basic respect. Has the silence stopped? No. Because the silence isn't a reaction to your behavior, it's a tactic used to manage your behavior. It doesn't matter how perfect the performance is, the predator will always find a reason to pull the plug on the air supply to remind you who owns the tank. There is no version of this where the silence is accidental. There is no version where they just forgot to reply for 48 hours while they were active on social media. It is a choice. Every minute they stay quiet while you're in pain is a deliberate, calculated decision to let you suffer. There are no exclusions. There are no special cases. There is only the mechanic, the tool, and the person being dismantled. So, here it is. The lights are on, and the playbook is open. You can't unsee the mechanics now. You can't go back to pretending this is just a rough patch or a misunderstanding. You know exactly what's being done to you. You know that every hour of silence is a brick in a wall they are building to keep you small, compliant, and desperate. The question isn't whether they will change. They won't. Why would they? The system is working perfectly for them. They get the power, they get the control, and they get to watch you audition for their love while they offer nothing in return. The only question left is how much more of yourself you're willing to let them incinerate. You're waiting for a sign to leave, but the silence is the sign. You're waiting for them to realize they're hurting you, but they already know, and they've decided they don't care. That is the hardest truth you will ever have to swallow. To them, your pain is just a side effect of their comfort. You can keep sending those texts. You can keep apologizing for things you didn't do. You can keep shrinking until there's nothing left but a shadow. Or, you can realize that the cage door isn't actually locked. The only thing keeping you there is the hope that the person who broke you is the one who will fix you. They won't. They are the technician, you are the project. This is the point where you decide if you're a person or a piece of equipment. You can stay in the cold, or you can walk out into the light and let them have their silence all to themselves. But you have to choose. Because every day you don't choose, you're choosing them. And every day you choose them, you lose you. The talk is over. The rest is yours.